Is Wuthering Waves really a problem for MiHoYo? In this video I will highlight 3 points to come up with reasons as to why MiHoYo could be afraid for Wuthering Waves' possible success. I want to come to a conclusion whether MiHoYo has legitimate reasons to fear Kuro games and if this is good or bad for the future of gacha games. First of all, a disclaimer before we begin. Everything said in this video is to be seen as my opinion and not to be taken as facts. That being said, let's begin. Is there competitive pressure? The gacha industry has gotten a lot of attention lately, with many big creators like Asmongold or Tectone, for example, promoting the games and the drama surrounding the games even further beyond, pushing the industry to new heights, reaching new players all around the world. You can prove the growing gacha community by looking at the pre-registration numbers for new gacha games. When Genshin was released during COVID, it was the perfect time, so MiHoYo had an impressive success of over 10 million global pre-registrations, as you can see. This catapulted Genshin on a road of success that is evident to this day. But we can also see that after the success of Genshin, the market has widened a lot. Of course, this can be, at least partially, attributed to Genshin. As you can see now, Zenless Zone Zero, another game by Hoyo, has just reached under 35 million pre-registered players. This number's insane when compared to their powerhouse Genshin Impact just a few years prior. But still, the question remains, does Hoyo have competitive pressure? Yes, definitely. When looking at these numbers, you would think that there's no way Hoyo could be dethroned. First, let's look at the pre-registration numbers for Wuthering Waves. Wuthering Waves has reached about 30 million total pre-registration numbers at the time of recording this video. This triples the registrations of Genshin. Of course, it has to be said that these numbers aren't a sure way to prove that Wuthering Waves will be even nearly as successful as Genshin. It's a good indicator on if this game can be taken as a serious competitor or not. Wuthering Waves markets towards the same core audience of Genshin Impact, with a similar world building and the gameplay as Genshin, and with the recent patches in Genshin being extremely dry, Wuthering Waves could create a shift in player loyalty and interest, potentially dividing the existing player base and redirecting attention towards this new game. But well, we all know the at least a small minority of the Genshin community don't think they will change. But let's continue. This diversion of players and resources could impact the revenue and popularity of Genshin if gamers find Wuthering Waves to be a compelling alternative. And as we can evidently see, Wuthering Waves is very controversial in the social media space, even breaking some news, even before its release, splitting the player base into camps. But again, is this bad for us as consumers? No, definitely not. It's very good for us. For MiHoYo, the rise of competitors like Wuthering Waves represents a challenge to maintain their existing player base or user base and secure future revenue. Again, and this competitive pressure could lead to more aggressive marketing strategies, faster content updates, and maybe even potential collaborations to keep players engaged and loyal. Don't know, they'll maybe even add endgame. I just read a few days ago that the device requirements for Genshin for 5.0 doesn't matter, is rising. That's very interesting. To be honest, it probably comes down to whether Wuthering Waves is able to deliver on the hype or not. Again, but is this the only reason why Hoyo is suddenly on the fence and even issuing new contracts for, you probably know, for content creators or not? Now, let's get into Hoyo's market positioning. Asia has more than double the gamers than any other region, 1.48 billion to be exact. In fact, Asia has more active gamers than Europe, Latin America and North America combined, 1.42 billion. Within this market, China, being one of the largest, has a large part in Hoyo's revenue. We'll get into that in a second. Let's continue. With hundreds of millions of gamers and numerous development studios actively clawing for our attention in this market, Hoyo has established itself as a leader within this market as well as globally. Looking at the revenue charts now, no other developer comes even close to Hoyo, them being able to make about 300 million US dollars in a good month. As you can see, the biggest part is by the CN community. That means Chinese market. Oh, as you can see, the Chinese market is very, very, very important for them. Not only being their country of origin, also being their biggest market. So why? Well, having such a strong grip on the gacha space, why are they even now putting out such restrictive contracts towards content creators? Is it just to strengthen their hold? The answer to this is at least partially yes. As a preface, I will not go over the contracts in detail. That has been done by other people already. I won't do that. I'll just shortly go over it. In response to the threat that games like Wuthering Waves pose, Hoyo has resorted to restrictive contracts with content creators, limiting them from showcasing competing games like Wuthering Waves or other giants on the horizon like Azure Promelia. It also has to be said, as others have already talked about this, these contracts are very exploitative in nature. A creator basically signing themselves off to this company, that's obviously very bad. Again, which is why it's very, very good that the exploitative nature of these contracts is being exposed by content creators. By controlling the content narrative through these restrictive contracts, Hoyoverse aims to protect their market position and minimize the risk of players being swayed by emerging competitors. However, why risk being seen as the bad guys so blatantly by Hoyo? It's dumb. I mean, they're attracting a lot of negative attention. Why would Hoyoverse employ tactics that could potentially damage its reputation to this degree? Well, one reason might be the nature of gaming communities themselves. In a market where loyalty and brand identity, I mean everybody knows that everybody loves to pull for their favorite character, plays a significant role in player engagement, Hoyo may be willing to enforce stringent measures to safeguard their ecosystem. I think they probably believe that their player base will be too invested into their products, well, into their characters, to see a problem with these contracts, or, well, to be honest, the core casual player base will probably never even find out about these. Moreover, such contracts signal their determination to hold onto their leading status in the gacha space. The objective could be to keep attention firmly on Genshin and other Hoyo IPs, while also managing the risk of player drift towards new alternatives like Wuthering Waves now. But is this everything? Is this the reason why Hoyo is so afraid of Wuthering Waves? Yes, probably. But I think we should dig a little bit deeper into miHoyo's reasons. Let me just say, I could probably end the video here putting a stamp on it and just saying, well, obviously Wuthering Waves is a problem for Hoyo, yada yada yada, blah blah blah. But let's dive into the Chinese market a bit further and the Chinese ecosystem and find out why it's so important when looking at new Chinese competitors like Wuthering Waves or Kuro Games to be exact, other than of course the Chinese market being their primary customer. Before getting into this section, it has to be said that I am in no way at all an expert when it comes to the political and financial landscape of China. Not even close. But I want to say something about it. So let's get into it. First off, and now stick with me in this section, we have to understand China's regulatory framework. The Chinese government requires all games, whether developed domestically or imported, to go through a rigorous approval process before being published. Games must meet cultural and ethical guidelines set by the government. The review process involves examining content for sensitive political topics, religious symbolisms, or historical inaccuracies that might conflict with official narratives. Well, games perceived to violate these standards are either banned or face significant delays, requiring developers to heavily modify their content to meet requirements. You can basically water the key regulations down to a few important points. Sensitive topics, that means games must steer clear of topics that could be perceived as threatening state security or promoting political dissent. Satire or criticism of government institutions is strictly prohibited. Then excessive violence. Depictions of extreme violence, gore and horror are scrutinized. Content that shows bloodshed, especially in the color red, is often changed to different colors to comply with regulations. That's evident, you can see it in Honkai, for example, in the Penacony questline. When the characters are being stabbed, then that's bad, obviously. Okay, let's continue. National interests. Any content undermining Chinese cultural values, such as glorifying enemy factions in historical conflicts or promoting foreign ideals, is also forbidden. Now, when examining Hoyo's compliance with Chinese regulations to their game, Genshin, for example, the Archon quest line, let's go into that, that presents an interesting case. Now take a minute, think about it. Are these guidelines really enforced strictly onto miHoYo? And again, just want to say I could be going into this something that's not really the case, just speculations, and I think it's a good idea to go through it, to throw it in the ring at least. Okay. Let's continue. While Hoyoverse generally adheres to China's stringent gaming regulations, there are nuances in the game that tread close to sensitive areas. Here's how elements of the Archon quests relate to the 3 specific regulatory points. First, of sensitive topics. The Archon quest, as you probably know if you played the game, often involves narratives where characters question or resist the authority of the ruling Archons or the other powerful figures. While not directly critiquing real-world government institutions, these storylines play with themselves of dissent and rebellion. For example, Inazuma. Important also is that, now this regards national interests, that the narrative of Genshin often explores conflicts between different factions and nations within the game, such as Mondstadt, Liyue, and Inazuma. And each of these regions is also inspired by real-world cultures. Mondstadt, obviously Western. I mean, Mondstadt is even, I think the name is German. Liyue mirrors traditional China. Inazuma is obviously Japan. Everybody knows that. These games often present these factions in conflict or in diplomatic tension, and it carefully avoids direct or disrespectful comparisons to real nations or historical conflict. Now, this is crucial in adhering to the regulations against undermining China's cultural values or glorifying enemy factions. As you can see, they are really just gradually going around these and maybe even hitting these regulations. Now, let's tie this all back to Wuthering Waves. Hoyo, as with their outstanding monetary success, surely gained the favor of the CCP. CCP, Chinese Communist Party, if I'm correct. Let me look it up later. Giving them a degree of leeway in terms of regulatory scrutiny. The sheer profitability of Genshin makes Hoyo a valuable contributor to China's growing gaming economy and economy at large. I mean, Hoyo makes a lot of money. Because of this, the CCP may be inclined to grant some flexibility to Hoyo, provided that the developer continues to broadly comply with cultural and ethical guidelines. Now, this favorable treatment gives Hoyo a strategic advantage, of course, if that's the case, or, you know, speculations, don't kill me there, allowing them to explore complex storylines, blah blah blah, you know. Now again, I think I could be reading too much into this, but I think it's worth it. With the emergence of a new competitor like Kuro Games with Wuthering Waves, sorry if I pronounce it wrong, threatens this advantageous position in China. If Wuthering Waves achieves similar or even greater financial success, Kuro could leverage their newfound profitability to gain regulatory favor as well, or even bring Hoyo down. This could, in turn, diminish Hoyo's unique standing and flexibility, as the CCP might begin to see Kuro Games as a comparable contributor to the economy and worthy of similar or even greater favorability than Hoyo. Now, by ensuring their player base remains loyal and engaged exclusively with Genshin and their games, Hoyo and CCC, I mean that's what's being talked about in the contract, Hoyo seeks to preserve their dominant market position and continue enjoying the leniency that comes with the monetary success, obviously. Now, in summary, Hoyo's fear of Wuthering Waves arises from the dependence on financial success to maintain a favorable relationship with the CCP. Losing this advantage to a rising competitor like Kuro would threaten their strategic freedom and their place at the undisputable top. In conclusion, the competitive pressure from other games like Wuthering Waves is a clear signal to miHoYo that their leading position in the gacha market isn't guaranteed. With Wuthering Waves achieving impressive pre-registration numbers close to those of Zenless Zone Zero, it's evident that the gacha space is ready for a change. While miHoYo's response has been to enforce restrictive contracts to secure their market share, this strategy also highlights a critical dynamic in the gaming industry that's very good for us all. Competition breeds innovation. As Hoyoverse faces potential threats to their dominance, they are pushed to enhance their games, possibly even leading to the mythical endgame that has been theorized for centuries now. You don't know, let's hope. hope. You can still dream. You can dream. Sorry, let's continue. For us as consumers, this competitive landscape can be incredibly beneficial. The more MiHoYo feels the heat from competitors like Kuro Games, the harder they will work to retain their players. But it's also important that this not only improves Hoyo games, but also ensures that new entrants like Wuthering Waves must meet or exceed high standards, enhancing the quality of games available to us. I mean, just look at the new gacha games that have come out recently. I mean, they're not all good, but they are better than before. Look at the new Black Clover mobile. It's a good game. It looks good. It's decent. It's a good game. If you played it, I can recommend it. Of course, don't spend money on it. Wait for Wuthering Waves. Well, let's continue. Looking to the future, we can definitely be optimistic. With the emergence of Wuthering Waves as a potential Genshin killer, it could lead us towards a new era in the gacha gaming genre. Ultimately leading to better gacha games worldwide. But let's hope. Let's hope Wuthering Waves lives up to its potential, prompting Hoyo to push the boundaries even further. I mean, they can feel it, they can feel the heat. They wouldn't put out such contracts if they weren't afraid. Again, as consumers, we definitely, well, not all, the poor guys with these contracts aside, stand to gain a lot from this. With this, I want to end this video. Thank you for watching, thank you for your attention. If you want to, subscribe. Bye.